Get this scenario. You eat that food provided by Museven in the canteens of Luzira. The consequence is what? Death. You refuse to eat it, death. So which option do you have? You eat and die, or you reject and die? On the question of Dr. Besigye, you may have noticed information coming through is quite clear that Dr. Besigye's life is in danger, increasingly. The nation should be worried. We are extremely worried that Dr. Besigye's life is in danger. It's abundantly clear that the mission to finish him off is underway, just like we alerted you a couple of weeks ago that Mr. Museven's agenda is to send Dr. Besigye to the Gilton, and obviously events unfolding are a testament to what is happening. Number one, the restrictions being imposed on him, which are quite clear by the prison's authorities. He's in solitary confinement as we speak right now. Previously, when he had just been remanded to Luzira, it was easy to access him somehow. Of course, we had to go through some processes, but there were the normal checks that would be done in any given prison facilities. But increasingly along the way, they started imposing stringent measures. Now, where we stand today, accessing him is nearly impossible. Those who have visited him of late can bear testimony to the fact that you can hardly have physical interface with Dr. Besigye. He's in a cage-like structure with glasses and then some telephone line which is installed there for communication purposes. Those of you who have visited some offices which are high regarded, like embassies, the person you talk to is behind that glass, and the communication is not even private. So those are the new arrangements they have put there. As to the detention facilities, ideally, you should be enjoying free interaction with other inmates. But as we speak right now, he's in a solitary confinement, all alone. Even when he faces issues that require assistance from anyone who is close to him, it's hardly to come by. Accessing other inmates is now prohibited. And in addition to that, you know, when you are on remand, in the law, there are pre-trial rights. There's what we call pre-trial processes, pre-trial rights. You are not a condemned person. You are not a convict. There are rights you continue to enjoy even when you're on remand. One of those key, fundamental rights is the freedom of worship. If you noticed, by the way, those who have been to Luzira and many other prison, facilities, There's more interaction by inmates of different sects, of different denominations. They interact quite often. But for Dr. Kizza Besigye, not even on a Sunday that is allowed to attend the church. All the inmates are allowed to do so. On Fridays, they go for prayers, Muslims. On Saturdays, the seventh days, and on any other days, because every day is a day for prayers. He's at liberty to pray as many times as he wishes. But he is not permitted to do so. That is an affront to the Bill of Rights. It's an affront to the pre-trial rights which are duly guaranteed under the Constitution. And they point to the mission Mr. Museven declared of eliminating Dr. Kizza Besigye. Then the other thing is about his welfare now. You know, it's a common practice and it's not prohibited under the law for your loved ones, friends and whatnot to bring you foodstuffs when you are in prison. It's allowed. There's no problem with that. Actually, prisoners are allowed to cook for themselves. But with the Dr. Besigye, yes, initially he enjoyed that right, but now increasingly it is fizzling out. It all started towards the festive season when some outrageous pronouncement was made that from the 16th of December up to the 18th of January, no visitors would be allowed to go to Luzira. It sounded like it was a rule of general application, but it was specifically targeting Dr. Besigye. Even when we visited him on the 23rd of December, it was a nightmare accessing him. And even handing over the items we had gone with, we had taken to him. So now, a couple of days ago, the rules changed. They imposed the new rules that for one to bring foodstuffs, they must cross-check that they don't fall in the category of those items they have within their in-house canteens. And you know what that means? That whatever is available there in their canteen can only be bought from there. Very irrational, unreasonable, outrageous, and of course illegal. You can't compel somebody to purchase items from your own canteens. What is their agenda? What is their intention in imposing that unconscionable and abhorrible condition? It points again to Museveni's mission. And himself is very, very, very worried about that. He has made an unequivocal decision never to procure items from their canteens. So if the situation remains like, that, then there's going to be a stalemate. That you do not allow foodstuffs from the loved ones from out as long as they are in the canteen. Say, for example, millet flour, they claim they have it, rice and a couple of other items. Yet, millet flour is his staple food. I'm sorry to go into his private life, but this is quite obvious. And they knew it very well, that actually his main staple food is millet flour. Now they are saying you have to procure that one from their canteen, including milk, rice, and all those kinds of items. This is dangerous. So those are all ominous signs which, again, fit within the mission that we have explained to you. Now the bombshell was unleashed by his erratic son, Museven's erratic son, who is the CDF. He let the cat, literally, he let the cat out of the bag and said, the agenda of the regime is to take Besigye through a perfunctory trial at the General Court Martial, which is a sham trial. But the ultimate decision or goal is to execute him on Heroes' Day, that is 9th June this year. And that they have already identified a tree in Guru, which they are going to use as a pillar for firing squad. Why specifically Guru? Heavens knows. Probably they also know why Guru. Speaks directly to the mind of General Kaguta Museven that Besigye should be executed. It speaks to the charges that are preferred against Dr. Kizza Besigye, specifically 2 counts. Section 128 of the UPDF Act talks about that offense of compromising the security of a country. Maximum sentence, you are liable to suffer death. Recently, they amended the charge sheet and they added on a professional accomplice who has featured in a number of criminal charges before the General Court Martial. Is called Dennis Ola. Dennis Ola has featured in a number of cases. The first one involving actually some NUP activists. And it is reported that over the last 2 years he's been on remand over the same, under the names of Denish Ola Omoya something. Now they just picked him from wherever he had been kept and they put him in the same dock as Dr. Besigye and charged him with those offenses. They added on that count of treachery. Treachery sounds like something simple, but it is, in terms of the penalty, its gravity is in the cluster of terrorism and treason. Actually, it's another form, it's another term for treason because it carries a maximum sentence of death. The other 3 counts, of course, life imprisonment, that being in possession of firearms. But these 2 counts carry maximum sentence of death. So it's not without a reason that they did all that. That they are doing all those kinds of maneuvers. Amend the charge sheet, add on to somebody, amend the charge sheet, bring on a new count which carries a maximum sentence of death. Please stop people from bringing foodstuffs from within the prison facilities. Also restrict his movements. Don't allow him to interact with. So it's not without a reason. And obviously we have told you the agenda is to finish him off. In the latest tweet, General Keno Rugaba proudly said that the events unfolding have actually made them change their mind to bring forward the date of execution from 9th of June to somewhere, I think, in May or April somewhere. Surprisingly, nobody has called him to order. Or maybe not surprisingly, as expected. No single government official has called him to order. Not even his line minister. Or both. You can imagine, we just sympathize with Oboth. I think even when they meet, it is Oboth who salutes. If he knows even how to salute. So Oboth has not come out to say so, to call him to order. The other line minister who could be also connected is Kaindo Tafire. He's known to be outspoken. He's also tight-lipped now. He had to belittle and ridicule Parliament and say, those clowns, if they have summoned me on Monday, this is today, I will arrest all of them. And obviously the Speaker, also tight-lipped. So I think you all know the situation we are in right now. That the choreography is to finish off Dr. Kizza Besigye. So if anything happens to Dr. Besigye right now, Museven is squarely responsible. He's in the hands of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. It is Museven commanding the General Court Martial. It is Museven commanding the prisons authorities. It is Museven commanding the UPDF. He is every institution in charge of Besigye's life right now, and all the processes is under the command of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The Besigye, that is the Commissioner General of Prisons, Frank Abayine, poor man, they can always speak out. And all these little ministers, they can speak about the Twitter accounts of Muhoza and whatever. Those are inconsequential. They are all inconsequential. The alpha and omega in all this scheme is Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and probably his close family members. Those are the ones who are in charge of the whole mission of taking Dr. Besigye to the slaughterhouse. It's the reason, as the legal team and all the political actors, we said we are not going to sit back and escort Dr. Besigye to the slaughterhouse. That's not going to happen. And the reason we have said now, the General Court Martial, as a kangaroo court, we can't allow them to just take Dr. Besigye into that perfunctory trial, that process. Just like the case was during those biblical days of King Herod, when Pontius Pilate just had to conduct a sham trial of Jesus, but when a decision had already been handed down for his execution. We're not going to happen. I mean, we're not going to allow that process to continue and happen that way. So, as a legal team, of course headed by our senior colleague Martha Karua, we are doing everything possible to get those proceedings away from the General Court Martial. Arrangements have been finalized to go to the Constitutional Court, which has severally pronounced itself on the constitutionality of subjecting civilian to court martial. Or they have on several occasions pronounced themselves on this abhorrible practice of subjecting civilian to martial law. Dr. Besigye is not subject to martial law. And we insist, and it's one matter we have to take to the Constitutional Court. Of course, with other issues regarding the due process, as we shall be explaining to you. And also, Mr. Museveni's mission of executing Dr. Besigye definitely is going to boomerang. We are going to nip it in the bud. We are going to do everything possible. We are going to leave no stone unturned in thwarting Museveni's nefarious mission of executing or killing Dr. Besigye. We are not going to allow that to happen. We are determined as a team. So there are a number of activities we have lined up which may not be for the benefit of the public as of now. But from all the meetings we have had, including this morning engagement, a number of activities and programs that we have lined up, and they will be rolled out in due course. Our message to Besigye, as the Commissioner General, please comply with the dictates of the law. We don't think you want to be an accomplice in the execution of Dr. Besigye, that you want to have Besigye's blood on your hands, Mr. Besigye. To Frank Abayine, you have treated this matter with a lot of arrogance. Calm down. Respect the command of the Constitution. Understand how delicate this matter is, how delicate it is, rather how delicate it is to have the person of Dr. Besigye's life in your hands, Mr. Besigye. You don't know what it means. You are playing with fire. You are just putting your notice. So stand up to General Museven and tell him he's asking you to do much more than you have powers to do. Stand up to the authorities. Stand up to General Kaguta Museveni and tell him the truth. The Speaker of Parliament, stand up to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. For both, I don't know. What message can we give him? And you know, when they removed the Oreru Huda from that ministry and put it here. Anyway, for God and my country. With efforts are being made to secure his freedom, his liberties. You know, he's illegally incarcerated. We have approached Uganda Law Society to step up measures because the legal fraternity should be concerned about the state of affairs, the threats being meted out against lawyers who cannot freely execute their duties in that stuffy room, in that environment which is hostile, which is not conducive for dispensation of justice. So we invited the president of Uganda Law Society, Mr. Semakadde, to rise to the occasion. Uganda Law Society gives mandate to the legal profession, actually to that body, to be a vanguard of fundamental rights in Uganda, rule of law, constitutionalism, to be at the forefront. That's our call. We insist that, please, even if it means laying down the tools, members of the legal fraternity should do so, especially about the oppressive nature of the general court-martial process there. And in light of the new dispensation where the Supreme Court curtailed the mandate of the civilian courts when it comes to matters which are before the general court-martial. The recent decision in Ogwanga's case in the Supreme Court, where they said that once matters have been handled in the general court-martial, if you are dissatisfied with the process there, if you are dissatisfied with the conviction, don't appeal to the civilian courts. Don't come to the High Court, don't come to the Constitutional Court, don't go to the Court of Appeal. That is the decision they came up with towards the end of last year, which is very, very absurd and regrettable. These are all matters which should